My name is Robert Dean. I'm the Chief Pilot for Dean International, and today we're going to teach you holding patterns. We're going to teach you why do we do holds, the different types of holds, types of entries, and how to enter the hold with visual references as easy as possible. What is a holding pattern? A holding pattern is a fix where you have to come to a fix. This would be a fix. It's one turn, which is 1 minute to go this way from the fix. It's supposed to go out 1 minute, another minute over here, and then back to the fix. So this is usually a 4-minute leg. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and 4 minutes. Or the controller may tell you to go to the fix and hold with 10-mile legs, etc. Now, why do we do holds? The reason we do holds is very simple. If you get to the airport, the weather is bad, they will tell you to hold somewhere before the airport, or the other option is if the runway is closed or something's happening at that airport, they'll ask you to hold at a fix until something clears up. So that would be the holding pattern. Now, how do we draw a holding pattern? The drawing of the holding pattern is, if you draw the 4 crosses, and this is basically, if I tell you, or the controller calls you and tells you to hold east of the VOR, proceed direct to the VOR and hold east. This is your leg. Your leg is basically the VOR starts there. So you take a line, start on east, go to the fix, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Controller tells you to hold west of the VOR. It would be start on west, to the fix, a right turn, outbound, and you draw your holding pattern. Hold south on the 180-degree radial. It is start on the south, put your pen there, go to the fix, make a right turn, outbound, come in. That's your holding pattern. Hold north on the 360-degree radial. Start north, come to the fix, right turn, outbound, and so on and so forth. If we ask you, the controllers ask you to hold east on the 090-degree radial, they would say left turns. Left turns means start here, come to the fix, a left turn for 1 minute, 1 minute here, 1 minute, and that would be left turns. Okay, same thing here. Hold west on the 270-degree radial, to the fix, left turn, left turn, left turn. Hold north, hold south on the 180-degree radial, left turn. So we start from south, go to the fix, a left turn to south, south here, another turn in, that's your holding to the south. Hold to the north would be here, and to the fix with a left turn, means this way. Okay? So that's what holding patterns are. So now we have the different types of holding patterns. The different types of holding patterns is, if you take your heading indicator, you start with this, you have to go 70 degrees to the right, and you draw a line across. Anything that falls in the 70 degrees is a teardrop. Anything that falls in the 110 is a parallel entry. Anything that's in this quadrant will be a direct. So, 70 degrees to the right is teardrop, 110 to the left is parallel. If it's right turns, if they tell you left turns, you take your line to the heading indicator, you draw a line across that way. This 70 degrees teardrop becomes here, parallel and direct. If it's left turns, remember always they're going to tell you about left turns. But if they tell you proceed to a fix and hold, it's automatically right turns. Now, what is the easiest way to do this? It's very simple. If they tell you hold east on the 090 degree radial, this is what it's going to look like. Here's north, east would be here, south, and west. So if they tell you to hold east, it's obviously going to be a direct entry since it falls here. If the number that you're being told to hold in falls in any of these places, that's how it's going to look. So let's start with an example of a holding pattern. So if we come forward and we can look at the board here, we should be able to see a heading indicator. And the best way to do this is look at your heading indicator because you can draw it out on your heading indicator. So in this situation, if we say that this is the VOR, the center of your heading indicator becomes your VOR, and this airplane is heading north and the controller says to hold east on the 090 degree radial. You start by putting your marker there, you go inbound, you make a right turn, another right turn, right turn. Your heading outbound on a holding pattern is always going to be the holding that you need to do. So in this case, the heading outbound is 090, heading inbound is 270, but you're on the 90 degree radial. So this is why they said hold east on the 090 degree radial. So what kind of entry is that going to be? The aircraft is obviously here. This is what you need to think of. Plane is going to the fix. As soon as it gets to the fix, you just pass the fix. Always wait for the needle to turn from to to from. When it changes, then you'll make this right turn and fly straight to the east. When you go to east, there are basically the 5 T's. The 5 T's are turn. First thing you do is turn. When you come here, you're going to make a right turn and go to the east. Next thing is when you level the wings, usually count to 5, then take the time. Time is 1 minute to go outbound. Next thing is to twist. Twist the VOR to put the inbound leg on there. Turn, time, twist, throttle, TH. Throttle if you start reducing your power to slow the aircraft down. And the last thing will be the talk, because the talk is your procedure turn. This turn here is the turn inbound, and usually the controllers are going to ask for the turn, report your procedure turn inbound. So the holding pattern is going to be direct and hold east of the VOR. So go to the fix, make a right turn eastbound, make another right turn, follow the 5 T's, and that's a holding. That is a direct entry. So if we look at it, this is the heading, and we do the 70 degree method. You can see the whole picture drawn out for you, that if east fell in the direct, that's why we came here, we just made the right turn. Another example, the controller is going to call you and say, I want you to hold south on the 180 degree radial. So the very first thing I want you to do is go and draw it out. So if you put your pen here and you go to the fix and you make your right turn heading to south, here's heading 180, and you can see what type of an entry this is going to be. The first thing we look at it, south obviously sits in the direct entry. So if you're already heading this way, we have to just come to the fix. As soon as the change takes place on the VOR, we will make that right turn to a heading of 180. Level the wings, we're going to take the time. We go out for 1 minute. During that 1 minute, we twist the VOR to put it on the inbound. Then we reduce the throttle to slow it down over here. Talk when you make this procedure turn inbound, and that's your direct entry. So as you can see, both of these are direct. Now, the next one is, we're going to do something that's going to be hold west of the VOR. The controller is going to call you and say, we want you to hold west on the 270 degree radial. How is that going to look? If we draw it out, west, the holding, first always draw your holding pattern. West, we start here, come to the fix, make that right turn, draw a nice big fat area here so you can actually look at it and see what it's all about. So this is what the holding is. This is 270 on the outbound. So what type of entry is that going to be? It's going to be in the parallel point. This was the teardrop, everything else was direct. So if you can see, it's parallel, which means take your aircraft, fly it to the VOR. Always remember to make your turn after the VOR switches. We're going to pass the VOR. When a change takes place, we're going to make that left turn and go out to 270. 270 for 1 minute. Remember the T's, the turn. We're turning here to 270. When the wings are level, we take the time, then we twist on the outbound. We come back in this way, come back to the fix, inbound, then the right turns begin. So this is a parallel entry. As you can see what happened, we went this way, made another turn inbound, and came back this way. Also keep in mind, wind may affect you. If wind affects you, if the wind is coming from the north, the plane may come here, you may end up coming on the radial outbound. Then you may end up having to do one of these kind of turns to come back in. We always recommend not to make too many turns in holding patterns and don't try to get to the heading as soon as possible. That would be a parallel entry. Now, the next thing we're going to do is talk about a teardrop entry. Okay, so now we're going to talk about a teardrop entry. And if we take into consideration, we said teardrop, you draw your line from here, 70 degrees to the right. We said this was a teardrop. If the number falls into any of these, teardrop, parallel, direct. So what do? Controller calls you and says he wants you to hold northeast on the 060 degree radial. So what do we need to do? Start by drawing your holding pattern first. We start on 060, come to the fix. Remember, this is your fix. Make a right turn to a heading of 060. All right, so this is 1 minute turn. Next minute, take your time out here, and that's the holding pattern. So we draw the holding pattern first. Now we realize it's a teardrop. So what does we do? We go to the VOR. Once we pass the VOR, in teardrop entry, you got to go 30 degrees away from the heading. So if you look at it in this case, station passage occurs. We're going to take the plane and go to a heading of 030. And 030 for 1 minute, then the 1 minute to come inbound. And as you can see, that's how a teardrop is done. Okay? So 030 for 1 minute, then we make a right turn back to heading of 240 to intercept the inbound radial. And that becomes a teardrop entry. Same situation occurs for everything going to the left. Okay? We've talked about the teardrop entry, we showed you a parallel entry, and we showed you a direct entry. The other opposite side is doing left turns. You would do the same scenario. Okay? The only difference in that is going to be that you have to make left turns, and you got to draw the holding pattern all to the left. So how do we do that? If we take the same heading indicator, okay, same thing, heading north, and we draw a line 70 degrees to the left, which is this way, and we do, this becomes teardrop, this becomes parallel, this becomes still your direct. So if the controller told you go hold east on the 090 degree radial, left turns. Start with east, go to the fix, a left turn this way, outbound for 1 minute, and as you can see, east falls in the parallel entry here. So if this plane is here, we would go to the fix. It would be a right turn first, outbound to east, then another right turn to come into the radial, then go and make your left turns. If you had, the controller told you to hold west on the 270 degree radial, left turns First thing we do, draw the pattern. To the fix, past the station, a left turn out. Okay, what type of entry is that going to be? As we can see, it would end up being a direct entry. As you can see, it's a direct entry. So what do we have to do? Since it falls in this section here, past the station, as soon as you pass the station, a left turn to west, then inbound, and it's your holding pattern right there. So as you can see, you saw a direct entry and you saw a parallel entry. If the controller told you they'd like you to hold on the 330 degree radial, how would that be? A 330 radial would be, draw the pattern. Here you are to the fix, left turns. So think of the plane coming in this way. Left turns would be this way. There's your hold. So in this case, the plane is coming from here. Past the station, we would just maintain a heading of north for 1 minute. After 1 minute expired, we come back in, and as you can see, there's your teardrop. So to conclude, we've shown you how to do holding patterns. That's the best way to draw it on your heading indicator. If you draw it on your heading indicator, it makes life completely simple. There's a lot of techniques and people start teaching, put your finger there and do this and do that and do a whole bunch of things. But if you draw the pattern, if you learn this technique, it is the most easiest possible way of doing holding patterns. Have a fantastic day.